Okay, I'm going to show you how you sew the bias binding and straps for the back of the Penny Lane top and dress, especially this curvy part, which can be a little tricky. So to start, we're going to put the fabric wrong side down over the placement guide piece of paper, and you want to make sure that it's nice and flat and smooth, and the basting stitch has already been sewn. Then we're going to take our straps here, and we're going to lay it down, and we're going to trim the edge here so that it is even with the basting stitch that you have already sewn in place. And this will ensure that the strap hangs over the edge, and the basting stitch gives a really good guide for that. So we're going to cut our first one, and then we're going to go ahead and cut our second one here, again starting from the same side and going across and cutting it again to be even with the basting stitch. And once these two straps are cut, what we'll do is we will use these straps as a guide to cut the next two straps. So I'll just pick them up and then place it over the remaining bias strip and just trim them so that they're the same. What this will do is, since the top is symmetrical, you want your straps to be equal and even though you cut them to go across the right way, making sure that they're just the exact same is the best way to have the best result. So you'll just cut one of each of the straps, so you'll have a total of 4 straps, and 2 of them will be the exact same. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll just lay the straps across using the placement guide. And again, you want to make sure that your bodice stays flat and smooth for this. And you want the straps to go all the way across the curve and overlap to the basting stitch on the other side. So you'll just place all the straps down, and then you want to just make sure that they are woven one on top of one and under the other. So as you can see here, I have one that needs to get tucked under, so we'll do that. And now what we'll do is we'll pin them in place. So to pin them in place, what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the edge of the shirt so that we're pinning wrong side of the strap to wrong side of the shirt. So we're just going to pick it up and pin it right in place so that the edges meet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue going all the way around. I'm going to pin all my straps in place. And I know they might shift a little as you're doing this, and that's okay, because I'll show you a tip on how you make sure that everything is even. So now that they're all pinned into place, what I like to do is I fold my bodice in half, so I match up the shoulder seams and then make sure that the bodice is all matched up and lined up so it's folded in half. And then what I'll do is I'll check all my strap placements, and if any of them need to shift a little so that they match up perfectly going across, I'll just move them a little. So you can see with this first one, oh, you can't see right now, but hold on. So you can see I just need to shift it up just a touch so that it's even with the other one. So I'm just going to move it, and then I'm going to continue going all the way down my straps to make sure that they're all even with each other, and that will make sure that the back doesn't gape or pucker and everything looks even, there's no pulling. Okay, now that all my straps have been adjusted as they need to and everything looks really good, I'm ready to sew in place. So I'm just going to tack all my straps down. Okay, so the straps have been tacked down, and now we're ready to sew the bias binding on. So I'm going to take my single fold bias tape, and I'm just going to fold the edge over by about a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to place that fold along the inside edge just over my bias tape so that the fold meets the shoulder seam. And I'm pinning this on just like I did with the strap. So I'm lifting it up so that the right side of the bias tape is against the wrong side of the shirt and the edges meet. And this, I'm just going to pin going all the way around. And you want to make sure that you don't warp the neckline, but the basting stitch that's put in there should help you from being able to really stretch it or warp it. So you just want to gently move along, matching up the top edge of the bias with the top edge of the shirt. And just keep moving all around, move a little slower and pin more often through the tight curve. But again, just make sure you don't stretch or warp it. So once you make it all the way around so that your end of the bias tape is coming to the overlapping the fold that we originally put in, we're going to just trim the extra off. So we want to make sure that it comes over the fold by about 1/2 inch, and then we'll just cut straight across, cutting off the extra bias. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew the bias to the neckline, and how we're going to do that is we're going to sew right along the first fold, so right in that stitch line or fold line. Okay, now that we have, what we want to do is we want to just clip the curve, so you're clipping to your stitch but not through your stitches, and clip notches through the deep curve and the curve of the neckline. And then with the other side folded already of the bias, what you want to do is you want to just turn your bias towards the front side so that all the bias is turned towards the outside. You're going to press really well at this point so that all your bias is turned over and pinned in place. And then what we're going to do is sew right along the edge there to sew our bias down. Okay, so now that we've sewn all along the edges so our bias tape is sewn down, and when you're doing that, you just want to make sure that the fabric stays flat and smooth under your sewing foot so you don't get any wrinkles or bumps. And then afterwards, just give it a really good pressing with the iron to smooth everything out and make it all lay flat and beautiful. And then you are all done.